Epsilon are a team that relies a lot on DeQueeve going off. I think that Josh obviously has had a lot of, like, he can have like that really bad game. I think it's just important for us to hang in the lane, shut down DeQueeve, and that's all we need to do.
Obviously, I know everyone from Millenium. Like, we've played against them for years. Their team, like, we didn't the only like the quote-unquote top team. We didn't play at Birmingham, so it's hard to say how we'll match up against them.
I think against us, Epsilon, their probably best game was going to be S&D. Josh has always been very good at playing like counter-style S&D, where against teams that he knows.
They're really good players. Maccabee will look into things. He'll be expecting us to do certain things, so we just got to do our game and make sure we come out on top.
I think we're going to win the series. I'm going to say 3-1. I'm going to say the maps are going to be close.
If we can get a good lead, maybe take the first map even, then I think we'll be good.
Not only is this a big battle to see who is going to come out with a win here on day one, but keep in mind, at the end of the weekend, if we have ties, those head-to-head matches are so important in the tiebreaker, as well as overall map count. I can see this one going to a Game 5, but Felony, I got to get your predictions. Looking at the maps here, who do you give the edge? Who comes out on top with what score?
For the retaliation hardpoint, I'm going to have to go with Millenium here. As far as the Frost uplink goes, I believe Millenium uses 4 submachine guns on that map, so I do think they're going to be the faster team, and I do think they're going to take control of the uplink. As far as the S&Ds go, both European teams very strong in search and destroy, so it's going to be a toss-up between those game modes, but it should be a great series.
Who you calling?
I'm going to call Millenium last map, 3-2.
Millenium 3-2. Joe, real quick.
Epsilon 3-0.
Millennium 3-2.
Millennium, Epsilon. I'm going with Epsilon as well. We'll see how it all plays out. It's time to send it over to our casters for the first hard point. We got Courage with TP.
I like Merc, how he just sits there, says his prediction, quick little 3-0, stands his ground, even though the pro player Felony and that handsome man Chance aren't with him. Do you agree? Who you siding with on this one?
I'm taking Epsilon 3-1. I think they showed a little bit more explosiveness.
Yeah, and hey, I expect to see that as well as we go on in this series. One thing to know is that I'm happy to be casting with TP again. We had some fun last week, and we're back up here yet again. And I kind of asked you, prior to this, I was like, you know what, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on European teams? I talked to Merc a little bit about this. The difference in how at least good they look now compared to back in your heyday of competing. I feel like they're just different tiers, but would you put that towards the amount of consistent competition they're having against North American teams, or the gameplay itself with the faster paced Call of Duties?
I think the faster pace definitely helps, something that they've always been quite good at. And I also, you have to attribute it to just the whole structure of the CWL. It gives these guys in these different regions a bigger reason to play, lots of money on the line, and they get to come to tournaments like this, where you get a lot of LAN games versus top competition. The more practice you get, the more consistent you're going to be.
Absolutely. Love to hear it. Love to see it. We've watched these European teams get better and better, and now we're watching 2 of really the top 5 in their region, with Millennium currently on your screen, Epsilon coming off that CWL Birmingham Open Championship. Both of these teams lost their opening series 3-1. Is there one that you thought looked better in the games that they played, or was it just that's kind of what you expected from both teams?
It's really what I expected. Both teams showed, you know, those glimpses of really good plays. We saw Millennium just destroying that uplink, showed so much overall control. And then Epsilon was able to take a hard point versus LG. I didn't really expect that to happen, but especially coming out with a lot of momentum in map number 1. So some different sort of things we saw from both these teams in their first series. The one thing I'm interested to see is how they're going to bounce back in those search and destroys. I think both teams were playing a little bit with not enough confidence in those search and destroys. Although these NA teams are very established and good at what they do, you have to hit them right back.
Oh, 100%, and we'll see if they can do it right now on Retaliation Hardpoint. A map where you wonder if Moose, with that NV4, can go in full takeover control. He's my player to watch in this one, especially for Millennium. Is there someone on Epsilon that you think just has to have a standout performance in this to match that of Moose?
We saw Dave playing extremely well with that NV4, so I think it's going to be the Dave versus Moose battle early in this one, especially on Retaliation. I think we're going to see, I think whoever wins this first gunfight with NV4 on bridge takes the whole map.
Wow, okay.
The crazy call.
You think I say some crazy things on Reddit and Twitter? That's TP. Jeez, I'm able to get away with what I want if he says stuff like that. Let's watch it right now off the break. Moose again with that NV4. TP says if he wins his first gunfight, they take the map. It's 1-0 Epsilon.
Well, that's a grenade, so
oh, there you go. That's true.
Yeah, the gunfight doesn't really count. A nice double flechette from Josh to open up that one. Looks like early control going in favor of Epsilon, and they should be able to get a lot of time. Looks like the spawn out, a little bit of a split happening, so I think Millenium should be able to break back in, but Dave wins a huge gunfight there. Some trades going back and forth.
Yeah, Marky B just going to wait for some assistance from PD across that bridge area. Now that he has it, he feels confident enough to push right on through. So Epsilon, again, do strike early on at the top of this bridge area, but now it's Marky B and crew in control. So it was mentioned, the presence of the E-Rats in that last series that really caught Slacked and crew off guard. These guys have obviously faced each other a ton in scrims in the European region. I mean, they can't really be caught off guard by anything like that, right? They know the play styles these guys like to have on the different maps.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure they've scrimmed so many darn times at this point. Leading in the last couple of seconds of this hard point, a nice, comfortable 30-point lead for Epsilon as we rotate over towards this lower streak. A nice gunfight. I'm not sure what shape Dave was doing there at the bike shop. Just kind of got caught off guard. So, initial control. The rotation goes in Millenium's favor. They should be able to get a lot of time. And I don't think there's really any sort of surprises. I don't think there's any E-Reds on the map right now. I'm kind of surprised to see that. I'm sure maybe some of these different hardpoints that could change that.
Oh, well, most certainly. And right now, Marky B just trying to stay alive inside Bike Shop, be a thorn in the side of Epsilon. You got multiple players about to peek him. Nice double challenge. Hawkey sprinting right across, doesn't even look to where he is. The trade does come into play. Moose currently at 4-4, getting his first couple seconds on the board. And now it will be Millenium in the setup that they want. Watch these blue arrows of Epsilon TP. They're definitely going to favor this top side of the map as they rotate towards this Cathedral Hill. Yeah,
you have to at this point. These gunfights going on towards that top bridge are going to be ever so important. PD gets the call out from his teammate that he needs some help, but he catches a bit of a grenade. Going to back down a bit. Decides to play it smart and just regroup with his team. Sort of a split push coming on from Epsilon. They do win that first gunfight over towards bridge. They have control of the hard point early, but still, even numbers here.
Yeah, and Epsilon actually do a great job of reading the setup from Millenium. They don't even try to send anybody in towards curb, send anybody in towards that top hotel hallway. They recognize that Millenium still have so many resources down at lower street that just overwhelming that top street area, sending their whole team there would be enough to break on through. I can hear Josh now getting hyped. 68-41, Millenium back up to that 30-second lead.
My man Josh is just not missing right now, absolutely screaming at the top of his lungs, and that's the energy you need. Using this bit of a different sight that we're used to seeing as well.
Maybe red dot sight coming out.
Zooms in just a little bit further, maybe helping at these long line of sights.
So interesting to see some changes already from Epsilon. I keep hearing Josh yell dead every time he gets a kill. Even with Dave starting off at 2-5, who you mentioned was the guy to watch out for, see if you can match an explosive performance from Millenium, it's the rest of his team getting it done. You've got Hawkey inside the hard point, already with 1 minute and 17 seconds of objective time. Thankfully, for Millenium fans, Moose on the rotation does pick up a big 2-piece, which will relieve the pressure for a moment as Millenium look to get a full 60 here to come back in this game.
Yeah, great job from Moose. The team shot going over towards that left bridge, and I like the bit of aggression from PD. I think he caught that player at plat. Yeah, a good flank from him. Going to try and help out Moose a little bit as well. So quality game from PD there. Like, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to push out, have that first wave of pressure. If you pick up that first kill, it makes the life of your teammates so much easier. And look at that. Marky B, after PD gets those kills, he can push up even further. Yeah. It's a chain reaction.
It was basically, what, 3 2-pieces. Moose got the first 2 to set up at that top bridge area. At the top scaffolding area. Then you had PD with the 2 kills inside hotel, and then Marky B with the 2 in his lane. The 3 players that need to watch their lanes, hold it. And now it's been 45 straight seconds for Millenium. This is the closest Epsilon have gotten to breaking on through. Yeah, they might get 10 seconds here, but either way, honestly, that's the best thing that could happen for Millenium on that rotation.
Just a beautiful hole. We'll see if they can do it again here, though. Those money hills going back and forth. Not much of a difference in the score, but Epsilon does have a little bit of an advantage. Now we're going to move over to Hotel Hallway. Hawkey does have this Scarab. Might decide to call it in just a few minutes here, but gets pinched in from both sides of the bar. Not going to work out for him. Millenium has early control.
And the slang is dead even right now. And if you think about it, it's still a 30-second lead for Epsilon. That lead was on that first top bridge hardpoint. So they've been trying to claw back in this game the entire time if you're Millenium. Is there something that will swing this in their favor? What would be the key to them finally just cracking this 30-second lead?
I think it's really that rotation from lower street over towards Cathedral. We saw how Epsilon was able to get so much time from those two in sort of coordination with each other. The biggest difference, though, is Dave, my pick to go off, isn't having, the best of games right here, but Josh is picking up the slack. 30 engagements already. No one else is even close to that. Josh is getting loud. He's playing with so much energy and, most importantly, so much speed. We talk about speed so much in Infinite Warfare. You need it. He's doing it.
And you think about the fact that he's got 31 engagements. Meanwhile, Hawkey, who's got almost 1.5 minutes inside the hard point, only has 16. What does that say about the pressure that Epsilon are putting around the hill for their objective player?
Usually we talk about how you want to play a little bit slower when you're holding hard points, but if you're picking up the kills, you can play however the hell you want. Players pushing out, getting back-to-back 2 pieces. We saw that on Broken Hill, and I think that's why Hockey's just kind of hanging out in the hill, milking all this time. It's Dave's turn to do it here on Bridge, trying to help out his teammates as much as he can. Some nice team shooting. You see every single time it's basically an assist. Josh picking up more kills, 36 confrontations already. He's getting close to his payload as well.
If you watch Josh's arrow on the minimap, he spawns in the back and then just flies forward for his team. Dave, he's 6 and 10 through the end of the first rotation. He's averaging 1 kill per hill, and still Epsilon are up by 100 seconds. It's a testament to why this team won the CWL Birmingham Open. It's now all blue in the kill feed as well. Earlier I said the slang was even. It's now switching on up as you're seeing Epsilon take full command of this game.
Some crazy stuff from Epsilon. Both Bridge Hills just breaking the score open into their favor. Doesn't seem like there's much Millenium can do when you're just being outslayed like this.
And they rotate and win the gunfights.
Yes, exactly. Moose doing his best to try and answer back, but just too little too late. Epsilon has control again. They only need about 35 more seconds. They should end it here.
Millenium, you might be punching a one-way ticket to the 100-point club unless you can get a break now on Lower Street. Epsilon have the full setup. There's 2 more kills for the blue side. Josh now looking for more top plat. They're getting call-outs on where the final 2 are. There's the cleanup. Red dot sight almost snapped on the Moose. But either way, 234 to 94. Talk about a statement game 1 right now from Epsilon. There's one final push from Millenium. Dave with the kill. The second coming in from Josh. This one is done and dusted. Welcome to the 100-point club. Epsilon 250 to 94.
What a performance. I was not expecting that. That hard point was extremely close, and then all of a sudden, Josh said, you're not getting any more hard point time. I'm done with this game.
Wow. I mean, I actually want to look at the scoreboard again at the end of this map, because I cannot believe how many engagements we saw from Josh and how controlled. Think of how controlled that map was from the moment they broke Hotel Hallway to the moment they ended that game. That was 120 straight uncontested seconds. Crazy to actually see.
Millenium needs to find a way to bounce back as soon as possible in this series. Marky B trying to keep his hand warm.
Yeah, real passionate there about keeping that hand warm on the main stage. Here's your scoreboard, though. And there it goes away. Aches is costing us. No, there we go. Okay, so now it's on. Oh, okay, we're fine. Whatever. We were trying to read what the screen said. We're all getting passionate. Marky B getting us all hot and bothered there on the main stage. Either way, crazy numbers from Josh. We know that without even having to see it. Epsilon, were you expecting that to be that one-sided? Here it is again.
I really thought Epsilon was going to win pretty convincingly, but not 100-point club, honestly. Moose seemed to be the only person on Millenium that was fighting back, getting 2 pieces where he could. But overall, it's not like Epsilon's other players had too big of a game either. Yeah, Hockey was able to get a lot of hard point time, things like that, but Josh put so much of the weight on his shoulders. And when you have a player doing that, he not only went immensely positive, but had more gunfights than the rest of his team.
Jesus, man, that is quite the stat line. Look at Grave as well, the big goose egg for the side of Millenium, 92 to 4 on Bridge. Teep, have you ever seen a difference that drastic on that first hill of retaliation?
Maybe once or twice.
Wow.
Maybe throughout the entire Infinity Warfare cycle thus far. And then you have to look at Grave as well, 54 to 0. I mean, we didn't even need a second one, so that's why that was so lopsided. And then, you know, Millenium did a good job on that rotation. We highlighted the good wave of pressure they had when holding Broken. Well, that pressure went away because Josh just started gunning.
That was really the one shining moment for Epsilon. I just put the 2 teams together. I didn't actually know that was possible. That's taking one from Maven's book right there. But no, that was really the one silver lining from Millenium, were those 3 2-pieces you got from Moose at that top scaffolding area, from PD in top hotel, and then Marky B at top bridge. Outside of that, we were only able to follow and talk about Epsilon. Rough to see. And you think about it now, Millenium in their first series today, if I'm not mistaken, against United, got smoked in the one S&D they played. Obviously, United very good at retaliation S&D, but you've got to keep that in mind now as we focus into game number 2.
Yeah, exactly. Millenium is just backing down way too much versus United. They cannot do it here. But, you know, with how Epsilon just played that map, they should just be playing as fast as they want. Sort of take a page out of United's book, do those 4 hits, do those things where if you know you're the better team, you're going to win those rounds more often than not. And when you have a map like that, I would just send Josh in by himself. He'll probably take out 2 or 3 himself.
Exactly, and I think another thing that I want to talk about too with Epsilon and TB, you can touch on this too with Josh being now on this team. was that Epsilon, they've always been an aggressive lineup with this core 3 of players, right? But I was talking to Dave a little bit, and he said how Josh is now the guy that basically says, guys, when the aggression isn't working, he says, stop, slow down. Take a pause, let's take a breather, refocus, get the break, and then we can start flying around again when the pressure's in our favor. Is that really just what Josh brings to this team, or is there even more?
I think it's a huge benefit to this team, and I think a lot of teams sort of need that calm nature, especially in those tense situations. We talk about in quote-unquote jetpack COD, speed, engagements, fast, always challenging, always ready for a gunfight. Well, there's those times where you're not going to win all your gunfights, right? You need to slow it down, give yourself a chance, and, you know, sort of camp. Set up a campfire a little bit and hang out and wait for the other team to make a mistake. So I think when it comes down to these tense situations, he's going to help them out a lot on their composure, but he can also have games like that where he just completely takes over himself.
And right there, it seemed like Moose with that NV4 could really never get comfortable. Right. Yes, he had that moment at top scaffolding, but outside of that, when you're getting players flying at you at all times, your teammates who are normally the ones surging forward, letting you kind of clean up kills, are dying over and over and over, I don't think there's really even a position for that NV4 player to be comfortable in a game mode like that.
Yeah, he's the only player that had those, you know, he had an even score at least. He was doing his job to the best of his ability, but when you can't really get set up in NV4, it's not usually the best weapon to break, especially over towards Hotel Hallway, over towards Broken. You can't really just slide in and pop a 2-piece. It's pretty tough to do. So great pressure from Epsilon. Convincing win. This S&D could get out of hand pretty quickly as well.
100%, but thankfully for Millenium fans, that's just map number 1 of this best of 5. We've got S&D on Throwback up next. Josh might be changing the meta one site at a time. The red dot site coming out there. Always interesting to see. Obviously, red dot site has always been popular in Call of Duty, but this year, pretty dominated by the ELO site. On this map, Throwback, is there anything that you think Millenium can do to really give them an upper hand over a team like Epsilon?
I don't think they should play like a retake style over towards that bottom bridge bomb. I think they need to fight that more heavily. You cannot back down, whether it's gaining control, heavy control of middle, or heavy control of that lower street over towards that bridge. They need to do one of the two very strongly. If they back down at all, I think Epsilon's going to use that momentum of that map control and just wipe the floor with them. So they need to, you know, put up the fight a little bit.
Well, and you mentioned put up that fight. Millenium in their first series again against E United played very passively on defense. E United picked up on it and punished them with 4 plants in the opening 20 seconds of every offensive round. That B site doesn't get a ton of love on Throwback, but there's still opportunity to go towards that area with the objective. There's that lower bike path you were talking about. Let's get into it. Epsilon with the 1-0 lead right now in this best of 5. We're watching the man himself, Josh, to see if he can keep that momentum going.
Interested to see what sort of strategy they're going to start off with. Looks like Josh is going to be that lone wolf over towards this B site, over towards baseball. Spots that one player. Shouldn't be too much of a gunfight going down. Just trying to gain as much information as he can for his team. But this is exactly what I didn't really want to see. Looks like a flank could be coming in from Millenium early in this one, stacking 3 over towards that blue side.
And Josh, this is typically his role for this team. Watch out for some sort of pinch like this. He's just got to stay alive right now. Cannot challenge this gunfight. Can't sneak into bowling as the aggression from Marky B and crew pay off. And now it's a 4v3 as they look to take that retake. Look at how awkward this is for Epsilon. They're having to kind of surge towards middle map. There's a collapse now coming in from Millenium.
But Vortex able to get 2, and I think he got the 3rd as well. What the heck? I need to see this kill cam. What just happened?
Please, look at this from Vortex. There's one with the beatdown. Second kill comes in.
Wow.
I believe he got 2 or 3.
He got 3.
I think there was a first one before that beatdown. So, okay, I was throwing that over to you because I thought it was going to be a quick little cleanup. You could talk about what they did wrong. Instead, Epsilon, they make a decision to push towards middle map, pre-aim those choke points, and get the gunfight wins because of it.
That's absolutely insane. A nice 3-piece from Vortex to take that first round. Looks like they didn't have the numbers. They definitely didn't. But all of a sudden, they all try to flood through that window towards that underpass side. He gets 3 and gets a first blood as well in this one.
And look, Vortex gets out with his life, already with the Scarab, about to earn himself a round 2 FTL jump. Lucky for him that player who pressured middle map, PD, pushed on through, so he might be able to collapse on a Marky B, making it a 2 versus 1. Or sorry, Marky B's all by himself in the back of the map. Josh versus Marky B, both players with an NV4, 2 veterans in competitive Call of Duty in Europe. Josh still challenging, even though he's tagged up yet. Now he's going to go ahead back on away. It's up to Marky B to still plant this objective.
Josh playing this extremely well, gets this E-Rad in his back pocket as well. So if he wants to play that longer range, he has it. Closer range has that as well. Great positioning from him, and he just needs to buy as much time as he can.
Yep.
30 seconds left in this round. Marky B still searching around for this bomb. Not sure where it dropped exactly. It's going to go down to the last couple of seconds, see if he can get it.
And Josh doesn't have to move right now. Letting Marky B make this first play. 15 seconds left. Does Josh react in time? There he is. Pops on out. Gets Marky B one shot. Should have this timing to know he's got to be close. Oh, it works out perfectly for Marky B. Both players, one bullet. Tries to chase down the kill. He's got the E-Rad for this exact position. Nicely done by Josh. As right there, it's the reason why he picks up the E-Rad. Lets him get aggressive in that close scenario.
A bit scary. He was a bit high up on that wall for that wall run. Yeah. Shot a little bit, and then all of a sudden, look down. Marky B had the bit of an edge in that gunfight, but whew, good thing he had that E-Rad in the back pocket. Slides out, picks up this last kill. So good clutch situation. Marky B almost able to get it, but it's so tough when you have to go find the bomb, get it down when you know a player's just going to be hunting you down.
And it shows it paid off. Instead of Josh, what I love there is Josh, how confident he was in that first map to not let that get to his head. No reason to challenge that gunfight at back bust. Just get away, play out the round, let Marky B go for the plant, and it works out perfectly for him. Vortex, who's 5-1 right now with the Scarab and FTL jump. Oh God, he might get punished here though for his aggression towards the A-bomb.
A bit shaky there. Lands a grenade on that player in that right corner. Just gonna get a quick reload. Will he decide to pop the FTL to get this intro? He has the bomb, so I really doubt it, but trying to work this first blood towards this bottom site. Scarab going out, catches the player, might be able to challenge and get the trade. Now he has him stunned, but decides to play it a bit slow. Hopefully he doesn't, okay, he does get the kill. I thought he was gonna play a little bit too slow there.
Yeah, no, I actually really like how he went about playing that. We'll talk about it after the round goes on, but for now, it's Moose evening things back out. Hawkey with the two-piece, 1 versus 1. Hawkey and Moose. Hawkey gets all 3. It's a 3-0 round count lead as Epsilon are just clutching up.
Great positioning with that NV4, picks up those cleanup kills, and then easy read. He probably got the call out from his teammate there. Moose not able to get a bullet off, and Epsilon just playing these trades so much better.
And they most certainly are. And I want to quickly talk on how you mentioned PD getting a little bit passive towards that lower, didn't push it right away to clean up that one shot. If you watch back that round, he was waiting for his teammates to also push with him. One to get on top of the bridge, one to get on top of the train. Once they got in the scenarios to watch over him, he then pushed through. It's little things like that that have made the difference in this map as Epsilon are continuing to make the clutch plays happen.
Looks like Epsilon going to be playing a bit of a retake in this round. PD in a pretty good spot for Millenium, though. Gets this first blood over towards that bottom side. Spots out the second player, calling out to his team. He just needs to stay alive.
And he's done this both times now as his team has played offense. Nelson with the quick trade onto Dave. All signs pointing towards this being a quick round victory for Millenium, as it's a Hawkey all by himself. There he does get cut down. Millenium are on the board, and a lot of it comes down to that middle map positioning from PD. They just get that for free. Something that Epsilon did both times now on defense.
That's how this map sort of works. You need middle or you need bottom A site. You got to get one of them. Get control of that. Millenium's able to do it and claw their way back. One round for them. Still in a bit of a deficit, but they need to keep up that sort of mentality. Just take middle. If it fails, it fails. It can't get any worse than what you were doing in these previous rounds. Give PD a chance with that E-Rad.
Yeah, right now, the theme for this week, at least, in this first time on Throwback S&D, is not playing for mid-control. Like here, look, Millenium, look how passive they are. And instead playing for a retake. Meanwhile, I feel like the first 2 weeks, it was all about playing for middle map control and not giving up a quick plant on this map. Either way, it will be Vortex again dancing around. He's already used 1 FTL jump this game, trying to work towards a second.
Hawkey getting a little bit close to his payload as well. About 3/4 of the way there, 5-2. Dave yet to pick up one in this search and destroy. See if he can get on the board, get rid of that donut. Vortex still, same sort of strategy we saw in this previous round, but looks like on the top side of your minimap, number 4 and 1. Might be trying to make a play over towards that other side B, which we don't see too often.
Look at how awkward this is. Vortex does get first blood, and because of that, it's time to plant this objective. Epsilon will have the 4v3, but Nelson there to actually even things back up.
It's a great strategy overall, but guess strategy doesn't matter when Moose absolutely destroys Dave. Still doesn't pick up a kill. Donut for him. Josh now stuck in the 1 versus 3. He picks up 2 and gets away. He has a really good shot at clutching this.
And now he'll spot Moose as well. Josh has all the info he can need. Challenges 1 versus 3 for Epsilon. And look at Josh. He just put it over at them and said, "You guys look nice today," I think is what he said.
Well, I don't.
Probably not.
I don't think it was that.
No. I think, yeah, we have headsets on, so we can't tell, but from the looks of Chance and Merc, it was probably some mean European thing.
What a clutch. Just great positioning. Hawkey did it. Hawkey did it. Josh does the same. That NV4, he gets over towards Lemon, picks up 2 players basically for free, gets away, the bomb is down, everything in his favor, and he cleans it up. 4-1 lead for Epsilon now, and That's pretty crushing for Millenium.
And look at this, the adaptations as the map goes on. Epsilon send 3 towards middle to take control of it. Thankfully for Millenium, they make the right call by finally focusing towards this field site. So at the end of it all, it would actually be another retake that Epsilon have to do as the bomb does go down.
Triple flank coming in from the spawn. PD, I think he caught a glimpse of one of those players just backing up to his teammates. You're going to play this back right corner sort of 4 deep. It's going to be tough for Epsilon to battle back and get to this bomb site. I like the strat from Millenium. They're trying to fly out, but Hockey picks up first.
How is Hockey alive? Thankfully, finally does get killed on off, and there will be no trade. So 3 versus 2. I would just hop this. Yeah, this is a really smart play from Epsilon. They know both these players are not in any position to try to cover this bomb. As they push on through, will Molson get a time? No! The bomb is defused, and again, Teep, you're kind of shaking your head here.
What are you doing? That is a great strat. They go to the other bomb site to get the bomb down.
Yeah.
They go too deep, and that's the sort of issue with this site. You need to plant and give yourself some sort of line of sight. So the better play, in my opinion, the more consistent play, is plant, give up that backside, and get to blue window. Just have that one player checking it. You can watch your flank with all 4 people. They go too deep in the opponent's spawn. They get caught out, and well, Dave doesn't have a kill, but he held square on the bomb.
This is the same Dave we saw from last map. What was Dave, 5 and 10, while Josh had like 32 engagements in the game? He's fine riding this train right now. Yeah, they're about to 6-1 the opposing team. If they keep this one up, they're showing towards B a little bit more now. Let's look at the 4 arrows of Millenium. They're going to rotate on over. You plant this objective, you can earn reactive armor. Dave, he's just got to stay alive right now. No reason to shoulder peek right there.
James Bond.
Oh yeah.
Enters into this game. PD picks up that first blood. A gunfight. Ooh, not very nice shots from Josh there. Marky B cleaning up as well. A 1 versus 4 now for Vortex. He has 8 kills, so can't really count him out. He has a little bit of a time to work with, but look where the bomb is down.
He's counting himself out.
Yeah, it's just no point to try and battle back in that one. So Millenium picks up huge kills. Dave could have bought time, waited for his teammates' help. Just peeks out a little bit too early, and then Josh challenges one of the worst gunfights I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a little bit sloppy. Worst gunfights you ever seen. Is that how quick that went on the scale? Jeez. Okay, Josh, watch out for that hip fire there, bud. Marky B, 7-5 with this FTL jump. Does he use it now to keep his team in this game?
Looks like Epsilon does not want to give up control of this A site. PD gets up into this building. Oh, it doesn't pick up those shots onto the back. Hey, bit unfortunate for him right there, but not enough range on that Erad. Pops over that wall, gets the first blood onto Dave. Dave, 0-8 now. His teammates are just not helping him out very much. Vortex answers back, 3 versus 3.
And look, in this corner again, Josh with the reactive armor. This has been the whole map. There's a round one for Epsilon. Great, PD can get all the mid-map control he wants apparently, because Epsilon will just swing the rounds in their favor. Easy victory for them and S&D, and a lot of it came down to Millenium getting advantages in them rounds and then just deciding, we don't want to hold on to it anymore.
Basically, it just came down to those late round situations. Epsilon's positioning was so much better, putting Millenium in the situations where that probably shouldn't have happened, where Hockey picks up 3 with an NV4. Then we see Josh pick up 3 in the 1 versus 3 with the NV4.
Yep.
But they were fairly easy, right? It's just not much Millenium could do. They had to put themselves in these awkward sort of situations where they have to try and find these last players. It's great positioning and great strategy overall from Epsilon.
And that's another example of what Josh adds to this team.
Yeah.
The big thing, Josh is a very, from what I've heard, he's got an idea of how the game is played,
right,
and it's either kind of that way or things will not work out well. And that's what we saw with Splice. They had 2 different ideas of how they thought things would play. He was much more vocal than the rest of his team. So we decided, you know what, this is not working. I'm going to go join this Epsilon lineup where they made the idea, you know what, we're following your play style. And right now it's working for Epsilon as a 100-point club in map 1, dominate in the S&D 6-2. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, the battle of the European squads continues, as right now Millenium has their back against the wall. Welcome back to the CWL Global Pro League. We're here for a G Fuel key player matchup between Marky B and Josh. And right now, this has been the Josh show in this series. These stats are coming into this matchup. They've only played one series so far, so take them with a grain of salt. One thing to take note of, Josh dominated with Epsilon in the first hard point. So already it's a respawn advantage to Epsilon, while Marky B and crew looked great in the first uplink they played earlier on today. They've got to keep that going into the series if they want any chance to make this reverse sweep happen. These are two veteran European players going at it in our G Fuel key player matchup. All about Epsilon right now in our prime time matchup here in the yellow group as they're up 2-0 against their European counterparts Millenium and TP. During the break, I straight up asked you, I said, are we gonna have a 5-game series here? And you said no, that you think that Epsilon are just too dominant right now.
It's looking like Joey D and I have some pretty good predictions. He called the 3-0, I'm thinking of 3-1. So I think from how Millenium looked in that first uplink, I think they just know how to play the game type very composed overall. So I think they have somewhat of a chance, but that chance, I think, is going away from what we see from maps 1 and 2. Yep. An absolute stomping in both the maps, to be honest, and it just seems like Millenium just kind of have lost their heart in this series. It just doesn't look very close.
Yeah, a lot of the scenarios we saw were just great communication from Epsilon, it seemed, where in those 1v3s, in those scenarios where they're going for quick trades, they always seem to be pre-aiming and ready for where the guy is coming from. You think of that Hawkeye 3-piece he got near that back limit area. You think of the 1v3 Josh got. It's little things that paid off big time in the S&D. If you are just tuning in, this is day one. We still have one more match to go after this. It's the battle of the North American juggernauts in E-United and LG to see which team will end day one at 2-0. This is currently the battle. See which team will end the day at 1-1. And Epsilon are up 2-0 in our best of 5. This will be uplink on Frost, where a lot of aggression can pay off, but at times it can be the downfall for certain teams. You need to know when it's time to drop the drone and slay, or when it's time to really get right in their base and get aggressive.
Yeah, especially on Frost, you need to know when to be moving that drone forward off of kills. And teams that struggle on this map that usually don't score more than, 3, 4, 5 points, those are the teams that wait just an extra second too long to move that drone forward off of kills. We'll see which team's going to be able to do a better job of that. Millenium, though, that search and destroy was just so many easy mistakes, a lot of body stacking. The amount of 1v3 situations that they didn't come out of on top is just pretty poor.
Yeah.
You going back to that Vortex round, I think that's the one that changed the momentum completely, where he picks up 2 at underpass and or top window, gets a beat down in the midst of that as well. Just things that shouldn't be happening. The communication doesn't seem too strong for Millenium. Seems like a huge issue.
Let's see if they can bring it back now in uplink. One thing I do want to talk about with Frost uplink team, and I know this is something we always talked about as casters at the beginning of the year, was how low scoring this map is. I feel like that's not as true anymore because teams have figured out how to play it. I think that's an example of a map where they've gotten the hang of knowing where to bring the drone, dropping it, hitting certain ones, discovering exactly how these spawns work to get those points on the board. Where in the past it was like, throw the drone forward, try to get the score, try to push through ship, just go for a 1, get it intercepted, all sorts of stuff like that. It's definitely changed as time has gone on.
And it's sort of the story of Call of Duty year to year in competitive in general. You have your original strategy that sort of formulates the best way to play the map early on in the year, basically scrambling to get points off of kills. As the year goes on, these teams become so good at formulating their strategy and executing on points every single time they're getting away with kills instead of it taking multiple. So I think the level of play on Frost in particular has gone up a lot, and I think that's why we've seen a lot more scores.
Teep, if I'm being honest, the series so far, it's been a little bit of a letdown for me. I wanted this to be close, just like I want our next series to be close. And I say that because this, for me and this group, is the battle of who's going to get third, if I'm being completely honest, between Epsilon and Millenium. And right now, it does not even look close, as Epsilon 100-point club at map 1 and wins 6-2. This guy right here, Moose, needs to be the catalyst in this comeback. He has been one of the stars of European Call of Duty in Infinite Warfare. And he actually strikes first blood and second blood and nearly third blood for his team.
Yeah, great start from Moose there. Some gunfights going back and forth. Seems like a 1v1 over towards the middle of the map. Nolson's going to get the better of that one. 2-0 start for him. Putting over some pressure and almost able to win that fight. Moose is there to back him up over towards Ship. But they don't have any sort of middle map control, and you needed that in order to move that drone over towards Ship side.
Well, now with 3 dead, it is time to push right on through. Nice shots with that ERAD, and here's an example of the pressure in towards Ship. Drop the drone and get kills. Yes, they're so close to the portal, TP, but you cannot force this right now. You need to win some more one-on-one gunfights, and there's 2 from Vortex.
Some beautiful positioning from him. Gets the drone back in his hand, waiting for that 4th kill. Easy dunk, the pass going in. Getting some extra points to his teammate. Now Vortex is on the hunt. He knows these spawns are coming in over towards his back side.
No.
A nice wall running, nice shots as well. Millenium doing their best to answer back to get middle map control, and it looks like they stabilized, but a great first push over towards Ship from Epsilon.
I'm very happy with how Epsilon just played that, strictly because it's exactly what we talked all about prior to going into the map. Drop the drone. They can taste the portal right there, TP. You know you can get a point with a quick one from there, but there, they slay out, they get the 2, and there again, 4 dead on Millenium. Epsilon with the drone, they're back on the offensive.
Epsilon with these ERADs are just too strong. We saw what they were able to do, basically dismantle Splice at Birmingham. Doing it again here. Hockey on an absolute tear. 6th streak, starting off 7-1, getting close to the streaks, not able to get it. Moose, only player really picking up kills. He's positive by 3, 8, and 5. Marky B just picks up his first kill. They need some help. Moose needs some help.
Yeah, and you can tell Millenium already trying to change some things up. Move the drone towards Cliff. See if you can possibly find a timing opening here to go for a 1. Dave's shooting people in the back already. It's a quick 2-piece from him. Marky B and Nolson at least stop the pressure for the moment. But again, the trade's going in favor of Epsilon.
I don't know how Hockey just got out of that situation alive. Finally gets taken out. Drone resets towards middle. Sort of a stalemate situation, but look at this guy behind enemy lines. Some decent shots over towards middle ice path right there, gets taken out. So things starting to slow down just a bit. But it seems like Vortex and Hockey are always those 2 guys that are so good with those ERADs up and close. Vortex picks up another. Nolson just trying to move the drone. Kind of a panic play there. I don't really agree with that.
Yeah.
But man, Vortex, just so many 2-pieces.
And this is exactly what we're talking about with Vortex and Hockey. Look at how much attention he's drawing towards here. I mean, you've got Millenium players now having to worry about, especially because this drone is here. If he can go for a 1, gets the calls from his teammates. Again, a perfect example of getting some help in the communication department. Finally, he does go down, but I mean, that takes 15, 20 seconds to kill him off that power position.
I'm surprised Epsilon's only up 2 here. Some nice defensive stances from Millenium. Moose already has 17 gunfights, needs his teammates to sort of pick up the pace, but it's kind of hard to do that when they're dead. But a 3 dead, they do have drone control over towards Ship now. A 1-point attempt should be happening in the next few seconds. Sliding out, the lead blocker's coming in, the 1 point does happen. So good execution of that play there.
Yep.
Moose opens the door over towards Ship. That's exactly how you need to play that side. Millenium only down 1 now.
Yeah, and that's actually a big point. I like how you brought that up. From all the good we've talked about with Epsilon so far this map, it's still just a 1-point game. Millenium holding their ground, making the defensive plays happen. It actually reminds me a little bit of Fnatic, from where a team that they would get pushed into their base and still somehow find a way to get out of it by either not giving up points the majority of the time or just kind of letting it 1 through and not letting a relay ever happen. If Millenium can keep that going in this map, I've got to favor him going up.
Interesting play to move that drone over towards that top side of the map, and I feel like that's really hurting Epsilon. They're getting so many kills. They got so many kills originally at that Ship side. They keep moving the drone up there. It doesn't really give you a good sort of alleyway to score points. So they need to, I don't know if it's Millenium just adapting and keeping the drone over there, but it seems like Epsilon needs to start shifting it.
Well, you mentioned how good the ERADs have been from Epsilon. The ERADs are not as powerful when you go towards this cliff side. Instead of being able to slide through with the hip fire submachine guns inside Ship, bring it towards Cliff, a much slower paced area of the map, really probably the slowest area you can get on a map like Frost. I like it a lot. Even here, Epsilon, I'm surprised to see him drop it towards this area.
I don't really agree with it at all. It looks like they might just be playing for the next side. Honestly, they're happy with the score that they have. 30 seconds left. They're just trying to slay out these kills. Nice little flank. The wall run coming in from Vortex. Finds 2 players. Picks up the first. Can he get the second? Should be able to. No, loses track. And, oh, Petey takes him out. He really should have won that.
All right, so Epsilon, they try to go for a cliff play. Nothing happens. Now it's Petey and crew, possibly able to strike with 12 seconds left. They're moving the drone back towards their base, which there's too little time to even go for a 1. Here, I would just like to see him throw it towards Cliff. Don't even give him a chance to grab this drone and go for a 1-point play. That actually might happen. 2 seconds remaining. Do they get enough time to throw for the 1? No, time does just run out. At the end of it all, Epsilon only have a 1-point lead. as they look much stronger in the first 2.5 minutes of that side than the final 2.5 minutes.
This series has been a lot of talk about Epsilon.
Yep.
But I'm going to do some more. Why, when you're out slaying like that so early in that game, why are you taking drone to the weak side of the map? Go ship, shove it down their throat, basically, and score as many points as possible. They kept slowing down the pace on their own when they should have been amping it up.
TP's getting angry.
Just a little bit.
You won't like TP when he's
They're
angry.
still winning.
Yes, they are. So at the end of it, oh, Epsilon, keep it up. You're doing a good job. But no, either way, they're now 5 minutes away from the 3-0 sweep of Millenium, but they've got to fix some things going into side 2, and a part of that is hitting your hip fire shots with the ERAD. Trying to move this drone now is Epsilon back into ship, and you've got to think that this side favors how they like to play and should play on this map with their pressure inside with the ERAD. It's all about pushing this Robo Bay area. But right now, Dave and crew, they've got to keep dropping this drone. They do have a lead blocker. He's now cut down. Just trying to stay alive as there's Millenium swarming all over him.
Some shaky shots from him. Nolson picking up another one. Nolson starting off this side with a little bit of his 3 streak. Some momentum finally going back in their favor. They do have a lot of control of ship and towards middle, but drone's not moving quite yet. And this is these sort of situations, like those weird 1 to 2 second gaps where they aren't moving drone. They ended up taking out. They're taking too much time.
Yeah.
They had control. You need some movement there. It was just, that was an awkward sequence.
Because of how slow they played that, Marky B was having to watch 2 different doors at once. Something that's just not going to work out. Because of that, look at how fast a dunk comes in for Epsilon. 4 dead again on Millenium, and now Epsilon and crew, they're looking to put on the hurt with these aggressive plays. I actually love how Dave and Josh are playing this. They're just waiting to see if they can flood out a lane for their team. They're going to actually move it cliff, and they've set up perfectly for this.
It's beautiful. They knew where the spawns are going to come in towards that back helipad side. They pick up the intro kills. 3 dead, only 1 person alive in Nolson. I don't think he's going to be able to stop it. Another dunk coming in. Oh, only 1 point, though. So a nice stop from PD and Marky B holding strong, but a 4-point deficit, in Millenium just making some pretty simple mistakes, to be honest, Jack.
And we saw that in the search and destroy. They really just got kind of destroyed in the hard point, but for the most part, those little mistakes build more and more. And Teep, already, you're getting frustrated what you just saw right there. What was standing out for you in that play?
It looked like Marky B was tripping up a little bit on that snow, not able to get that drone where he wanted to, and it's just, they're giving up deaths, they're giving up map control in situations that they really shouldn't, and that's why this game is probably going to get out of hand fairly quickly. PD doing his best with that SMG over towards this ring side, but Dave having a little bit of trouble. Looks like the drone fell through, not able to pick up that one, so that's unfortunate for Dave. He was ready to get that 1 point at 10th off, trying to win some gunfights. Millenium answering back.
Yeah, I don't think it would have actually resulted in a score anyway. There was a player on the portal ready to either stop him or go for the interception, which is a pretty high-rated interception spot, especially with that angle that you come out with. But again, 4 dead on Millenium, the slang kicking it into gear now for Epsilon, and a lot of it again, if you think of the engagements we've seen on this map, or on this side, they've all been close quarters.
Dave now stuck in a weird situation, accidentally takes out his teammate as he goes for the dunk, so no points on the board. Probably should have just taken that 1 point, but regardless, they're still up. They still have a lot of control. A huge gunfight going over towards that wall run side. Moose able to win it. Some trades going down back and forth, and this is the movement I like to see. Do something different, make the team rotate. Marky B in a bit of a dangerous situation, backing up to his team just a bit, but blue control's lost. Nothing they could really do.
Yeah, and now, again with this drone, it's got to be an afterthought if you're Nolson, right? So he'll just lay it down, see if he can get some kills for his team. At least him and Moose do take down 1 each, and there you go, just like that. That's why you don't focus on the objective there. Lay it down, play for a score right after the dunk opportunity going on through for Nolson.
Okay.
And we've got ourselves a 1-possession game.
They took their time. They got the drone up. They got those kills at the most important times. They're trying to move this drone very quickly again, and I like to see it. They're getting it up towards this ice path here. Decide to take that route to the right. They need some lead blockers, though. Need to regain some health. Nolson wins a first, trying to be that lead blocker for his drone carrier, and all the teams stack it up. Some points should be going in fairly soon. He gets the 1 off, so a 1-point game. They have a chance.
They most certainly do, but with 1 minute left, 2 payloads ready to go for Epsilon. It could be all the difference as this one comes into play. If I'm Hawkey, I drop the drone right here, get 1 more kill for this overdrive, but instead, with his teammates clearing everything out, there's no reason to. He's gonna flood right in for this score. Can he get there? No! Tries to go for a dunk when all you need is a 1-point play.
That's 2 times. They should have had 2 more points, and now Moose clutches up, gets the drone back in his team's favor. They're making a play. They're getting pretty close to these payloads as well. All the players on Millenium very, very close. They could do this. 35 seconds left. They need a few kills to earn these, though.
This is so smart. Moose drops a drone, gives it to his teammate, and said he'll slay out and play for this camo. They've got enough time to work with. There's the camo. Now he needs the pass. 24 seconds remaining. This is the play right here. Moose getting a spot where he can dunk this drone, and they're juking Epsilon. They're playing with Epsilon's mind right now. They're going back and forth. Moose now hitting the wall run with camo. This should be a game-winning play. He's getting hit. He's one shot. No! He gets killed with camo. There's no one. The drone's off the map. Epsilon will 3-0 Millenium with another questionable play. TP, you can't even speak.
Throw the drone!
TP's yelling.
They played it perfectly. They popped the camo. You have to give Josh the props for picking up that kill on the player that's invisible.
Yeah.
Just shooting into the sky. Maybe he got a glimpse of the drone or something. So nice play from him, but throw the drone in the portal. That's the whole point of this game, I thought.
I've talked a lot to players about why you see less of people with the drone hitting wall runs. And they say it's because the drone carrier has the shadow on the wall, which makes it easier for players to see and spot. So right there, Josh uses that to his advantage. Epsilon 3-0 Millenium, and most importantly, think of what that means now for the map count as this weekend moves forward. That is an example of a series that can tell a much greater story as we move later on into day 3. Millenium end day 1 with a 1-6 map count and 0-2. Not the start they wanted to have.
Not at all. And it's just simple mistakes, to be honest. You can see that they have an overall good idea of how to play these maps, but it just seems like they don't give themselves a fair shot. You saw how Epsilon was able to set up these plays. You can see them scoring points before they even do it, whereas Millennium's just trying to pull these sort of points out of thin air.
Yeah.
They had a chance at the end there. Moose, one of the saving graces for them, having some good performances, but only one map on the day.
One of those tough decisions at the end that doesn't go their way when trying to score with that camo. Either way, though, that was a series led by that man on stage. It's Josh from Epsilon with an interview with Maven.
Thanks, guys. All right, Josh, a couple things I want to talk through. But the first thing, I heard you yelling a lot. Specifically, it sounded like maybe towards Marky B, towards the side. You guys were getting hype, a little trash talk back and forth. What's the story there?
It's just keeping the momentum, really. Like, obviously, I played awful in last series. I had to step it up, and I was playing good, so I had to keep myself going and just get the team going.
Well, I want to talk about the first series, but first I have to know how that camo kill came down at the end, because that may have been the difference. You were able to take out Moose. How were you able to spot him there? Very rarely do we see camo get picked out of the sky.
I mean, I didn't really, to be honest. Yeah, Dave camoed out to try to stop the ball and hit him with like 2 bullets, I think, and then I just literally just sprayed. I knew he was on the wall, and he only could come one way, really. He had to come into my aim, and I luckily hit-fired him and hit him with like 1 aiming bullet, I think.
Well, you made that series look easy, right? You get the 3-0. Games 1 and 2 weren't close. I want to rewind a little bit back to the first series you played earlier versus Luminosity. So you take the hard point. You look to be in control of the series, think you can beat these guys. What sort of fell apart after that?
I mean, they'd 100% watched the S&D back because I was being pre-aimed when I was coming from their spawn, so they obviously knew what we was doing, so fair play to them. And then, like, the uplink, we just playing it weird. Like, we played different against EU teams, and, like, American teams punish it a lot easier. I mean, I played awful in the 4th hard point, and we lost by, like, 15, 20 points. If I didn't go double neg, we could have won.
Well, you turned it around in a big way. One final question for you, I guess. It seems to be the battle of 2 EU teams and 2 North American teams. What do you guys need to fix in order to take out the likes of United and LG? Is it just a consistent effort from the squad?
Well, I mean, we need to change the way we play uplink a little bit versus Americans because they play it a lot more like standard and like the way you meant to, like on paper, and it punishes us. And then we need to change up personally because obviously, well, I don't know about United, but LG have watched their games back and they know a lot of what we do.
All right, well, you go 1-1. You're able to take at least a match today and a solid 3-0 over Millenium. Great stuff, Josh. We'll toss it over to the desk.
All right, thank you very much, Maven. 3 matches down, and it's Epsilon walking away with a 1-1 record from day 1. Millenium, they have their work cut out for themselves, but don't forget what happened just in week 2. It was Evil Geniuses who opened up the week in 0-2 and ended up in first place with the 4-2 finish. So, fellas, we've seen the matches from our European squads. They're done. They're out of the way. Before this series, we were talking with the pros upstairs, and they all said that without a doubt, Millenium was the stronger team. Joe, you called it on this desk that Epsilon was going to 3-0 and a half.
Tell me who said it. They lied. Whoever they were, they lied.
I was about to name off all 8 players.
Don't name drop them.
I knew 100% coming into this weekend that Epsilon was the better team. They've won an event this year. Plays huge into the bigger picture. Millenium, for those guys this year, they've had some consistent performances, but those guys, they've never really all been on the same page. They haven't played at a high level this entire year. But, you know, Epsilon, we've seen what they did. 3 of these guys, you know, got, you know, top 4 at champs, well, all 4 of them. So just a great squad, and this series just shows that.
Game number 1, pretty big blowout. We have our first 100-point club of the weekend, and it comes from Epsilon. They were able to dominate that first hardpoint. Chance, what did you see in that initial hardpoint?
Josh is the answer to that question. You see he's got that 1.65 KD, but even towards the beginning of the game, he had twice as many engagements as anyone else on the map. So he's playing the fastest. He's constantly finding himself in the best positions possible for him and his team. So he's doing it all. Even when he's dying, he's getting information for his team, and he's just completely shredding. So everything that could go right for Josh did go right. He was getting hype, giving his team that energy that they did not have against Luminosity, turned everything around, and they got the best footing they could.
Let's take it over to Search and Destroy here. This was also a one-sided affair. Dave drops 0 kills for the win. 0-8 because his teammates were killing everything. How did game 2 play out? How did they keep Millenium to just 2 rounds?
Epsilon Search and Destroy is a very big momentum-based game mode, and Epsilon, I believe, had 2 1v3s along with a 1v1. Millenium can't give away that many rounds to a team and expect to come out on top. Every single piece of momentum was in Epsilon's favor, along with Specialist.
Yeah, I mean, just to go what Tyler's talking about, you have 2 1v3s. You have a 1v1 that Josh wins. The first round, they're in a 4v3 with the bomb planted. Millenium's about to retake. All 4 of them flank. Epsilon, they win that round. Vortex picks up 3. Just from the start, they've been making plays. And Epsilon, when you're winning, 2 1v3s, which we don't see very often in this game because of how close to the other people play, just jumping on Millenium's mistakes.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting as well. They had to find ways to throw away rounds. Millenium was putting effort into losing, it seemed like. Again, they were getting the majority of the first bloods. They were doing everything well at the start of rounds, getting bombed down when they needed to, and just found new and different ways to kind of fall apart. Even there, we saw it at the final ends of that uplink. They made it all the way, made the nice comeback with a minute left. Then they get to that final moment where they can tie it up and force the OT, and they find a different way to throw it away.
Final question here. We got to talk game 3. Was this Epsilon still showing dominance in uplink, or was it Millenium throwing the game away, in your guys' opinion?
A little bit of both. So Epsilon, there was a few times where they could have went for a 1, but they went for a dunk, so they got a little bit greedy there. But along with Millenium at the end, they could have went for the 1 to tie up the game. Instead, they played for the win. So it's a little bit of both teams there that got kind of greedy, and it ended up hurting Millenium in the end.
Yeah, I mean, just Epsilon controlled most of the game. Sort of that last, 60 seconds, Millenium starts to put some plays together. You hear Marky starting to get loud. And I mean, it's just Epsilon. They're just able to clutch up, something that they were doing the entire game.
Millenium's in a big hole. Chance, they're done for the day. When we watch them tomorrow, what mistakes do you want to see them fix? What do they need to improve on?
Well, definitely their ability to just clutch up when it matters. I mean, when you have 2 teams that are incredibly competitive, as all the people in the GPL, the Global Pro League, are going to be, it's all about who can clutch up when it matters most. Obviously, Millenium completely fell apart. I don't know if their loss from E-United earlier got in their heads, if they were on tilt, what the deal was. But, again, it's definitely going to be they're looking at EG, what they were able to do last week. Horrible start, finish out top of the group, so they need to draw some inspiration from something. It might as well be that.
When you look at Mill in the past, when they have their greatest success at the big open tournaments, it's normally in the losers bracket or when they just start to find their stride. They're able to pick up that momentum. They need to have a big start to tomorrow, but speaking of big starts, we've had our score streaks battles going down. Everyone who's watching at home has been participating. And here's a look at the answers from our last series. The first question was, will Epsilon score over 200 points in game 1? 85% of you guys guessed this was going to be at least a close game or thought Epsilon was going to win it. They pulled it off.
They're just smart people. That's what I've been telling you, man. Over the past few weeks, you guys are great at home.
We got some really intelligent human beings. Question 2. Let's pull it up here for you guys. This one was all about the search and destroy. We wanted to know how many rounds will be played in the game. That's a pretty easy one if you're sitting at home. The likelihood of it going to 10 and 11, not very much. Near a blowout, probably not expecting a 6-1, but a 6-2 right there in the middle. 72% of them get it right.
I mean, it's standard, but apparently we just need to crowdsource our analysis. Like, instead of us trying to put in any effort, just ask the majority of the people and let them give us the answers because, I don't know, they're on fire, 2 for 2.
And finally, the people were right once again. Let's take a look at question number 3. This was the uplink. Once again, if you guys want to play in the score streak, it's on MLG.tv. How many points will the winning team win by in game 3? 5 or less, 1 point. 50-50 split. Half of the crowd is smart.
No, only half.
We stumped them that time.
We did.
Failed.
Millenium with the comeback towards the end kind of skewed the results. Most of you guys were crushing it throughout the day, though. Here's a look at the people on top of our leaderboard, though. Shout out to our leaders. We got Virus King Boomer in the #1 spot. How would you not expect Virus King Boomer? There we go.
You know, I'm pulling for a Lil Sethi. I think he's going to keep it going.
Yeah,
I think he'll
Blues
have
for
#1
Life,
tomorrow.
as well as Care Brums, all these names impressing us today. I am Thumper, though. He's the guy I'm looking at. Look for player #6 to make a rise.
I'm looking for Noisy Shark.
And remember, Noisy Shark and I'm a Thumper.
Noisy Shark's coming.
They will be able to continue scoring all 3 days. Same thing with you guys at home. Watch it on MLG.tv. Compete in the score streaks. We'll be tracking it across all 3 days. And on that 3rd day, we will announce the winners at the top of our leaderboard. For now, 3 matches are in the books, but we got the best one saved for last. Coming up next when we return, E United takes on LG in the biggest game of day 1.